Minnesota. Ruby boys, they know us. All fast money, no slow bucks.
Guys, look at this. Nothing. It's almost 12:30. We get picked up by the Uber to go to the airport at 1 p.m. I have nothing packed, but I need to make this NBA video. Hold on. Let me get it on my Snapchat story really quick. Wait for it. But before I start packing, I need to make one more NBA video. There's the camera. Say what's up. Okay, guys. I didn't think I was going to be making another video right now. I don't have the time. But I get the notification, the Woj bomb. First of all, Woj bombs are the greatest thing ever invented. Second, I get it. Jeff Teague to the Indiana Pacers. And I'm just like, oh shit, was this a huge blockbuster deal with Paul George? Was, you know, like maybe Miles Turner? I look at the details. So, involved Utah Jazz, Indiana Pacers, and Atlanta Hawks. Jeff Teague to Indiana, okay? George Hill to Utah. And the 12th overall pick to Atlanta. First of all, Indiana highway robbery. You only get, I'm sure there's other small pieces involved, but for the most part, you just gave up George Hill. Just George Hill. For Jeff Teague, wow. Indiana should be ecstatic. I don't even need to go into why they won this trade. And yeah, Jeff Teague is an upcoming free agent, but they're working on contract extension talks as soon as the deal is finalized. He was going to be a free agent next year, but they're going to extend him. So, Indiana, you give up George Hill for Jeff Teague. Jeff Teague, Paul George, Miles Turner, Monte Ellis. I think they tried to trade Monte Ellis. And they kept the 20th pick in the draft. So, Indiana, you won this trade. Now let's get to Atlanta and Utah. Utah, it's always tough to give up a lottery pick, the 12th overall pick. But, hear me out. They've got bigs, and the 12th pick in that range, there was a bunch of bigs. You know, Henry Ellenson, Domantas Sabonis, Skal Labissiere. There were just a bunch of bigs in that range. So they don't need any more bigs. Rudy Gobert, Derek Favors, they got their big man. George Hill, I mean, they've needed a point guard for years. Last year they won 40+ games, and their point guard play was nothing. So this should, I think this move puts the Utah Jazz into the playoffs next year. A healthy Gordon Hayward, healthy Derek Favors, and Rudy Gobert, and then Rodney Hood at shooting guard. You slot in George Hill, who's underrated. I like him as a defender. Offensively, you're not going to get much. He could shoot the three, but you know, he's not going to give you 20 a game. But defensively, he's underrated. He's going to help that Jazz team. They've needed a point guard for years. Ever since Darren Williams left, they've needed a point guard. I didn't know that they were going to go George Hill. I expected maybe someone of a higher caliber. But nonetheless, I think they're going to win close to 50 games after this move. It's just, you have your front court, Gobert, Hayward, and Derek Favors. That's one of the best front courts in the league. And then you put George Hill along Rodney Hood, who showed a bunch of improvement last year. I think this puts the Jazz in the playoffs and gets them over 45 wins. Again, I don't like that they gave up the 12th pick, but then again, they've needed a point guard, and you got to give up to get. I mean, you can't just get George Hill for nothing. So I think they won and lost this trade. There's benefits and there's negatives, but I think the biggest benefit, this pushes them into playoff contention next year, and that's the biggest thing. Utah needs to get back to playoff basketball. They miss the Jerry Sloan, Darren Williams days. The Lord go back to John Stockton and Karl Malone. But this move is going to help them not contend for a title, not a home court advantage in the playoffs, but it'll push them into the playoff picture, and that's what they want. Nice pickup by Utah. I don't like that they gave up a pick, but hey, you got your point guard. Now to Atlanta. Okay, so Atlanta, there were rumors ever since last year, and ever since they drafted Dennis Schroeder, that they wanted to make him the point guard of the future. Jeff Teague, although he's not old, he's not young, he's 28 years old. With Al Horford most likely leaving the team in free agency, it's not a for sure. But with the Lakers and Celtics and he, among others, pursuing him, there's a big chance that he could leave in free agency. I mean, if you're going to rebuild, you might as well, your biggest trade asset, Jeff Teague, try to cash it in. I think they're signaling towards a rebuild. I think they're going to let Al Horford walk. They got the 12th pick. They have their first round pick, so now they have 2 picks in the first round. They're giving the keys to the team to Dennis Schroeder. Young, upcoming, I say star cautiously because he does have a lot of flaws in his game, but he also has so much potential. Some of the games last year, he would play in the fourth quarter while Jeff Teague was benched. So you could tell they were trying to move Teague. I think they could have got better return than the 12th overall pick, but I don't think their concern was getting a better return. I think they just wanted to give this team to Dennis Schroeder, but this brings a question up. So Teague is gone, a star in his prime. Al Horford is most likely gone. It's not a for sure, but it's most likely that he's leaving. So that leaves Paul Millsap, who just signed a 3-year contract last year. $20 million a year. He played great last year, but he's not young either. So he doesn't want to play on a rebuilding team. Maybe could this put Paul Millsap on the trade block? Maybe. That's what it looks like. If the Hawks go full rebuild with Schroeder, 2 first-round picks, does that put a Paul Millsap on the trade block so they can acquire more assets? And then does that make a team like Boston? Does that make a team like Phoenix or a team like Portland, you know, give them a lot of assets for a big because they need a star? Phoenix needs one. Boston needs one. Portland needs a big to pair with Damian Lillard. So I haven't heard that Paul Millsap is on the trade block, so maybe they think they can re-sign Al Horford. But if he goes, this might signal a full rebuild for the Hawks. Maybe trade Paul Millsap later on in the offseason. All I'm going to say, Indiana, huge win. Huge win. I think they go from 7th seed last year to maybe like a 4th or 5th seed. Jeff Teague, Paul George, Miles Turner, Monte Ellis. They do need a center. They need a center. But Miles Turner can play some small ball center too. Utah, I think they get into playoff contention. They win over 45 games. A healthy team. George Hill's a nice, underrated player. Really good defender. Again, he's not going to give you 20 a game, but he can shoot the ball. In my opinion, giving up the 12th pick, I think they could have put together a package for a better player. But nonetheless, they do win this trade too. They're going to get back in the playoffs, and that's what Utah needs. And Atlanta, if they're going full rebuild, this makes a lot of sense. I like it for them if they're going to rebuild. If not, if they're trying to re-sign Horford, keep Millsap, I don't like this move because they could have got a much better return for Teague. But trading Teague for that 12th overall pick, it signals something. I think they should have tried to get the 20th overall pick from Indiana too. Let me check. Maybe they did because I know there were other small pieces involved. I think if they got the 12th pick from Utah and the 20th pick from Indiana, that would have made more sense for Jeff Teague. But if not, I think they're going rebuild. And you got to trade Paul Millsap. Now. Yeah, I don't see. Oh my God, Derrick Rose just got. Okay, guys, I'm making another video now. Derrick Rose just got traded. What? Okay, guys, hold on. I'm making another video.